Okay, we're on.
Lars, are you saying something? Can't hear you.
Episode 10, an internationally acclaimed panel of designers, award-winning, put this together. Episode 10 of Southeast Asia Connect. And I should have learned by now how to unmute my microphone, but that's the beauty. Every episode we're learning something new. Chris, are you excited? Episode 10.
I can't believe that we've made it this far.
And haven't been either turned off by the authorities or put into a jail where nobody will remember our names.
Correct. So let's dive right into it.
Yeah, so welcome to Southeast Asia Connect, episode number 10. This webinar and podcast series is for founders and investors of Southeast Asian startups, connecting the Southeast Asian ecosystem to the world. The series is brought to you by Northridge Partners and Precious Communications, combining, having worked with hundreds and hundreds of founders, investors, and moved billions of dollars around for helping founders build their dreams. My name is Lars Födisch, founder of Precious Communications, and I'm the co-host, economist by study and storyteller by passion. So let me introduce, I don't think he needs an introduction. Let's just hand it over to the man of disaster, no, the man of power and insights. Here's Chris Tran. Hi, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Lars. My name is Chris Tran, and I'm the head of Northridge Partners, where we are delighted to work with Southeast Asian founders to raise capital, grow their businesses, and exit. And on today's topic, with unicorn breeding, unicorns in Southeast Asia. The past decade, we have basically seen Asia's startup scene take over. Led by China, we of course have now household publicly listed names that were previously very large unicorns in Ali and Tencent. And of course, the hits still keep on coming. Notwithstanding, we have ByteDance in the wings, of course, the creator and previous owner of TikTok. After India, Southeast Asia has followed up with 13 unicorns. And in fact, when you look at the data, the rate of growth in valuation of the largest startups has accelerated over the last 5 years. And very exciting for all of us that have been in the game is previously where we talk about a Series A or B or even C gap, we're now well far into the age of plugging in a potential VC and PE gap, which bodes well for the continuing acceleration and the continuing building of larger quality companies and the unicorn count. Today, we have Southeast Asia's largest unicorn, Grab, and Singapore's next unicorn, NinjaVan. And beyond marketing, unicorns really do matter because unicorn status provides for greater secondary sales and IPO prospects, allowing founders and investors to recoup and indeed recycle capital. Number two, unicorns have been the acquirers in Southeast Asia, indeed completing 40 acquisitions in the last 4 years. And unicorns have been the breeding ground of talent and capital for the next generation of startups. In this episode, we explore the current unicorn DNA. What have the technology, talent, economic and legislative tailwinds been to create this current crop? And how is that changing? What does the next crop look like? Second, to what extent do US, China, and even Indian unicorns provide models for Southeast Asia? And of course, how will unicorns exit? Forget the money. I'm so glad to have Aditi Sharma, Director of Grab Ventures, Grab's venture building and venture investments arm. Aditi has had various roles of tech companies, serving lots of tech clients in her storied career, where she brings all that experience into nurturing Southeast Asia's next generation of unicorns through Grab's flagship scale-up program, Grab Ventures Velocity and Strategic Investments, incubating them into the CVC of Grab. For Build the Dream, we have Sean Chong, the co-founder and CTO at NinjaVan. He is responsible for the digital fabric that powers NinjaVan's proprietary systems, optimizing the logistics process for NinjaVan's regional customers. Apart from overseeing NinjaVan's technology strategy, roadmap, and vision, Sean drives innovation through research and development activities and leverages emerging technologies to bring the newest innovations to the logistics vertical. Last, it's time for
the poll. So let's see what we have today for the question. It's all about unicorns, of course. So not where in the Singapore Zoo can you find the unicorn, but when will we see the next Southeast Asian unicorn IPO? Next year, within the next 1 to 2 years, or only 3 years or later? So how optimistic are our attendees today about when will we see the next Southeast Asian unicorn IPO? So let's see. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a good mix, actually. So next year, 25%, only in 3 years, 20%. So yeah, so it's, let's say in 1.5 years, in the next 18 months, we shall see an IPO. So that's exciting. Chris, should we prompt our guests already who it's going to be, or we keep that for later?
We might keep that for later. So just simply delighted to have Aditi kick off in terms of the money side of things. Aditi, we'd like to actually begin with, a bit about yourself and how did you end up with Grab, and what was the main goal of setting up the investments arm in Grab since the launch back in 2018?
Thanks for having me today, Chris. Yeah, a bit about me. Been with Grab for a little over 3 years now. I'm an engineer by training. Did consulting for a good 5 years, still figuring out what's my calling in life till Grab happened. I think it's been a pretty amazing journey since, a very humbling experience as well. Building out the tech from what started out as ride hailing to now transforming into the everyday everything super app. And that's where Grab Ventures comes in. So Grab Ventures was set up back in 2018. It's the venture building and venture investments arm of Grab. The mandate really is to enable and build the next generation of tech leaders in Southeast Asia, right? And how we do it, it's two ways. One, we build businesses ground up, new businesses ground up. And second, we also run localized startup programs in some of the key markets in the region to really help startups grow and scale. On the program side, we have Grab Ventures Velocity, which we launched in 2018. It just concluded its third cohort with 5 amazing startups. Startups that join GVB are growth stage, and they do some commercial pilots with Grab, and those that become successful get long-term commercial partnerships. More recently, we have also launched our early stage program called Grab Ventures Ignite in Vietnam, which is much more capability building focused, where we really hope to offer the founders access to Grab C-level leaders, to successful founders, to even advisors and experienced mentors like yourself, who have deep experience in the tech ecosystem, to build foundational capabilities and hopefully have them not make the same mistakes as we did back in our 8-year journey as Grab, right? So yeah, that's the aspiration. Our first cohort from Grab Ventures Ignite in Vietnam is going to graduate in a few weeks. We'll have a demo day happening in Ho Chi Minh City, so do watch out for further communication on that. So that's a bit of the work that Grab Ventures does. I think in terms of milestones, there have been some exciting mini wins, if I may, through this.
Yeah.
We've built a few new businesses. For example, Grab Wheels, Grab Kitchen, and also our early grocery business, which is now transformed into Grab Mart. On the investment side, we've made a few investments in Happy Fresh, in Split, and also in Intervent. On the program side, we have a nice and vibrant portfolio now of about 33 startups across the region. And I'm very happy that quite a few of them are now long-term commercial partners of Grab. So yeah, a bunch of interesting stuff here and there.
Thank you. That's quite a few achievements. And, it's so lovely to see that clearly 2020 hasn't been an easy year, but the program continues. And in fact, if anything, seems like it's expanding. And in addition, through researching and catching up, it's just wonderful to hear that the participants in the program can be actually actively engaging with up to 4 different business segments of Grab. So it's just a wonderful ability to actually take so much resources and expertise and really get yourself out there. So that's been where you've been and where you are now, and we've touched upon Vietnam, which is interesting. But what excites you about, maybe the next lot or the trends that you're seeing in terms of what is going to be next? We've talked about Vietnam, but what we discussed in the pre-call was a little bit about the Indonesian side and particularly around the merchants. Is there a different flavor to the type of companies that you see that are building and sort of, the next bets in terms of what the bigger companies / unicorns may look like?
Yeah, I think on the Indonesia side, definitely there's an interesting part of the story. I think we are seeing a whole wave of SME digitization. Give or take, my perspective is Southeast Asia is China 10 years back. And SMEs are actually not online at all. I think COVID brought in something like an existential crisis for these businesses. And in a way, it also actually acted as a huge catalyst, right, for these SMEs to really come online. We see so many more of them now, GrabFood, GrabPay merchants, where they're really looking at the platform to thrive and grow their business in this new normal world. And when we saw this happening, that's when we pivoted the theme of our Grab Ventures Velocity program in Indonesia for the current batch to be much more focused on these digital opportunities for SMEs, where essentially we were looking for digital solutions that can help, one, these businesses grow, and B, help them manage their operations much better, wherein we brought in 5 amazing startups in the cleaning space, in the low-cost POS solution space, to come on board the program, do a bunch of pilots with the merchants that we have in our ecosystem, and amazing results, right? Coming out of the program, if you look at the recent announcements, we've announced the Grab Mitra Solusi Merchant Portal, which is a completely new initiative where we expect to create curate not only these few GBB services, but many more of other startup services that can be offered to SMEs in our ecosystem. So I think that's one piece that I'm really excited about. Not only myself, I think Grab is overall quite excited about in the coming years.
And that's a wonderful story, isn't it? Because if we look at maybe the early 2010s, there was this whole look at the consumers and the urban and the ones that were frankly well-to-do and could afford to buy things online, etc. And when we look at the small to medium SME space, we're having a look at such a big part of the economy that finally has this opportunity, or frankly being being forced to take this digitization journey. So we're quite interested in that. And want to explore a little bit, if you like, there was the super app around the consumer. Now there's discussion around the super app around the merchants and SME, right? And the flavor seems to be around logistics and fintech, etc. Can you give some color around maybe what aspects of the current crop of the new DNA of larger and potential unicorns would look like, further developing this theme?
Yeah, I think SME digitization, otherwise, I think there are a few elements to the unicorn DNA, the future crop as well, that we see in Southeast Asia, right? I think the fundamental of, are you attacking a big problem? Are you in a big market will always be the core of it. But I think if we look at Southeast Asia unicorn particularly, I think there are at least 2 to 3 themes which particularly stand out. I wouldn't say they're different, but do stand out, especially for Southeast Asia versus, for example, US and China. I think the first part is, you were already alluding to it, is the super app or ecosystem approach. I think it's now quite well proven that the ecosystem approach of either like offering many or curating a fewer set of services for the users in one place is a model that is working quite well for Southeast Asia users. And if you see, several unicorns in the region are doing that in various flavors and certain levels already. So I think that's one distinct DNA. I think second, from a DNA perspective, if you see, there's a large theme of localization. Now, I come from India, and I know we love to think that India is super diverse, amazing cultures, but I think my learning has been Southeast Asia is an incredibly more diverse and complex market. And really, I mean, you do see local unicorn champions in some of the markets, but I think the regionalization, while being able to localize, is really quite important to the unicorn DNA. And that ability to appreciate the regional complexity, localize and execute that strategy well across these very diverse markets is quite important for Southeast Asia unicorn success, right? I think same for China as well, right? China, at the very least, they have a unifying language. So Southeast Asia in that sense is quite diverse and distinct. I think linked to that, I also think having a very solid localized talent strategy is a big part of the DNA or success. I think building a regional business is not only launching in Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, but I think the question also boils down to how do you win customer hearts in tier 2, tier 3 markets. Very important to have local talent that can take that strategy and really implement in the markets. I think look around at all the unicorns, everyone has taken a different approach. Sometimes it is bringing in folks regionally, but definitely sustainable way is finding the right local talent that can really help you win in those markets. So I think that those 3 are sort of the common DNA that you see in some of the unicorns now, and I also believe in the ones that will be there to come.
That's really useful, thank you. So, it's the super app, it's being regional, but also the hyper localization. And even though we're going to switch to Sean next to talk about tech, but I'm I'm pretty confident he agrees with me. I mean, the unsung thing here is really, it still goes back to the culture and the team and all about the people that execute, right? And ability to match the product with the market. So Lars, with that segue,
over to Sean. I thought like Sean either was like taking mental notes. Yes, tick. Yes, tick. Yes, tick. So on the way to the Sunicorn. So Sean, maybe you can share, if we dial it a little bit back, your journey with NinjaVent from starting up to building a multi-million-dollar Sunicorn, right? So what we heard with Aditi is already okay. We are at that level. No, it's decadawn discussions. How did you get the journey going? Because starting a company and bringing it to that level, that needs, I don't know, what does it need? Sweat, tears, luck, support, magic powers. Tell us.
Right. Yeah. Sweat, tears, a lot of blood as well. All right. So yeah, I mean, thank you everyone for this opportunity, and really, really nice to be on this show. So my name is Sean, and I'm one of the 3 founders of NinjaVent. So a little bit about history. We actually started off right here in Singapore, around about 6 years ago, early 2015. And it's actually interesting because we came about as more of a pivot. See, back then we were actually in the tailoring e-commerce business, and we had faced our fair share of troubles with existing logistic providers. So we decided to take the last mile delivery of our products into our own hands, right? And as guys who really cared about tech and optimization, we didn't just stop at building, a working fleet that did the job. We wanted to optimize the cost of deliveries down as much as possible. But more importantly than that, we really wanted to give our customer full visibility of the whole delivery process. So we did spend a good bit of time juggling both businesses, increasing our e-commerce sales and also building out our software for this logistics business. And we soon realized that there was a serious market gap when peers. I remember in the early days we had folks like Love Bonito, good friends because we were working with them in the tailoring business as well. And they started asking us to help them to deliver the products, right? Because they were facing the same issues. And a good friend of ours, John, he's one of our early seed investors, says that, hey, maybe you should really think about taking this to the next level. And that's where we really decided to pivot and focus on building a company out of logistics. And to be really honest with you guys, we weren't really too interested in fashion. At that time, we were running a fashion company, but we were going to our office in slippers and in t-shirts, right? That's a huge joke. But the advantage of moving into this business was that we came into logistics having a background of being on the customer side of things, right? So we were e-commerce sellers, and we knew exactly what the pain points were, and we thought we knew how to solve them, right? And that's really the birth of NinjaVent. So now back to the starting days, the blood, the sweat, they were really painful. And the truth is that people usually only see the success stories, but they don't necessarily see the pain, the hardship, the troubles along the way. And when people ask me about those good old starting days, I always tell them it's kind of like my second national service, because in Singapore, all of us males, we are conscripted into the army for 2 years, right? And the routine was pretty monotonous and repetitive. We would check into the army camp on Sunday nights. We'll be in, and we'll only get out on Saturday mornings, right? We'll just have like 1.5 days, and we have got to get back in on Sunday nights. And this was exactly how it was for us during the starting days. And why is that the case, right? Because logistics is a 24/7 business. We in the day we would be out delivering parcels. When we came back, I would write code, implement the kind of like improvements from what we learned out in the field, write them in our software as improvements, and then at night we would sort out the parcels for the next day's worth of deliveries, and then rinse and repeat. right? If you guys read the stories about us founders sleeping in the office, it's a true story. It's not fake news, right? We used to sleep there because it was really optimal. We cut down all the time needed to travel. Even meals, lunch, dinners. We only had one thing on our diet: KFC, right? That was the quickest way to go, right? So yeah, that was a blast into the past 6 years ago. Was really just a dream, a hope, but yeah, here we are today with 100% geographical coverage of the 6 countries we are in, delivering north of about 1.5 million parcels every single day, and that number is continuously growing. And Lars, thanks for calling us a Soonicorn, by the way. Definitely we're on the way to becoming a unicorn soon, but we always talk about this internally in the company, and we usually prefer the term rhinoceros because rhinos are tough, they are relentless, and you know what, unicorns don't actually exist, but yeah, rhinos do. So yeah, I mean, I hope you guys got a flavor of how it was for us starting up. It was not an easy thing.
Before I go to the next question, because I asked other founders that if you would have known how tough it is to get where you are, would you even have started?
Oh, definitely, Lars. I mean, we all know that you've got to go through a bunch of failures before you become successful, and again, it's about being relentless, right? So nothing's gonna stop us. We're just gonna go, man.
So maybe then from the company perspective to your experience as a leader, how has your role and life changed? Because you started sleeping on the ground, delivering parcels, quickly doing some coding for your own health and sake of sanity. I hope your life has changed.
Yeah, I think probably lost 10 years of my life being so unhealthy, eating so much KFC. But yeah, like I said, starting up was like going to army again, right? So can I say I no longer had a life? But yeah, on a serious note, many things have changed. Of course, in the early days, all of us 3 founders, we were really hands-on, right? We did everything from sorting, driving, delivering parcels, writing code, even picking up the phone and getting scolded by angry customers. Right, but that was important for us because we really wanted to understand the ins and out of the business and not just be in that ivory tower. And actually, yeah, in fact, this is something that we still hold very true to our values, where we get all our new employees who join in, and during the peak periods, they get to be in the sort center, they get attached to drivers, because we really want everyone to experience what Ninja Van really is about as a company, right? Yeah. So I mean, coming back to how life has changed, obviously we are no longer living in the office. And one of the key things I would like to talk about in our organization is actually sustainability. So 3 key topics to sustainability. The first one being revenue sustainability. We have operational, and of course, last but not least, people sustainability, right? To be in this business for the long haul, we can't expect our employees to be like army conscripts or they will burn out. In any rapidly growing startup, you will see the organization structuring up. So we in the early days, we put a huge emphasis on talent acquisition, right? And we started up with just 5 of us building up that MVP software. And today we are more than 30,000 employees strong. So if you look at the rate at which our business, our headcount has grown, we had to very quickly shift our focus into building up on our human capital. Effectively, we had to shift from being doers into managers, mentors, right? And for us, our founding team, we were extremely young. We had little to almost zero management experience and really forced to learn on the job. In the early days, I remember it being extremely awkward to hire and be a boss, a manager, to someone who had decades more experience to me. But I speak from the shoes of a technologist today. Age is really but a number. It isn't something that we care about much now. And who you are, in the organization all boils down to how much you can bring to the table. So yeah, you could be a young school dropout, but you're a genius and you could be running a team here in Ninja, right? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, things have changed so much. It's gonna continue to change, and yeah, I guess we just have to adopt change.
Then maybe based on what you shared, are there some kind of some pieces of advice you want to give to I can't say younger founders because you said age doesn't matter. So maybe founders at an earlier start of their journey, where you say, hey, if you really want to build for scale, don't make these silly mistakes that we did or didn't do because of wisdom or luck or mentoring or
Okay.
what can people put in mind to if they really want to build for the long haul? You said talent is one of them. What else if you really want to build for scale?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't consider myself an expert. I'm not a serial entrepreneur or anything. Maybe we just got lucky, but okay. Well, I'll try. I'll try anyway. Based on some key principles that I personally follow. So maybe first of it, I would like to say is what I said before just now. Focus on the people, right? The company with the best people wins. Hire and retain the very best people, right? Because after all, it is the people that make the company. The next for me would be, setting a crystal clear direction, your vision, mission, values, long-term goals, strategy. All you've got to get that aligned in your company, right? All your employees need to know and believe in what they are doing and fighting for. And you don't want the organization to be pulled in so many different directions just because there isn't a clear goal. The other one, hopefully this one's not too cliche. Disrupt or be disrupted. Successful business leaders, they challenge conventional wisdom. They have the courage to deliver new solutions. I mean, when Ninja came into existence, we reinvented last mile logistics as how we saw it to be, right? And when we look around today at our close competitors, we see them copying things we do. And to me, that's a good sign that we're doing things correctly. Now, lastly, maybe this is more from a lot of personal reading and more from a personal leadership perspective. And I take this quote from Jeff Bezos, right? He said, admit you're wrong and be big enough to change your mind. So you may be the boss, you may be the leader, right? You may be the CEO, but guess what? You're not always correct. Remember that you hired smart people into your organization in the first place, and you've got to value their ideas, right? The smartest people are constantly revising their understanding, reconsidering a problem that they thought they already solved, right? Yeah, I think that's about all. You probably don't want to hear me blabber anymore.
I think in my mind I can see a lot of people that have tuned in, taking not just mental but actual notes on that. Thank you so much for sharing about your journey. So maybe then just a last question, and just a reminder to all attendees: please put your questions in the Q&A function of Zoom. The Q&A function, not the chat function, because in the Q&A function you can actually also upvote your questions or see somebody else put in a great question and you want that to be upvoted, because we look at the Q&A section, not the chat function. Sorry for that public service announcement. Just want to make sure we get it right, because we always get fantastic questions from the audience. So maybe the last question: how has the COVID year been for you? Is it just with like, oh, e-commerce up means your business up, but can't find people to deliver? Or how do we have to imagine this year from a business perspective?
Yeah. Well, honestly, and really luckily for us, COVID, I don't want to say it's been a blessing, but it's been good. It has had a positive effect on our business, but really has pretty much been business as usual for us. So look at it, right? For us, we've always had to deal with spikes in volumes during your usual sales campaigns. You have your double singles day, 12/12. Actually, nowadays you have everything, right? 10/10, 9/9, 8/8. Soon it'll be happening every month. I guess the only difference with COVID was that, when it came on, you had the MCO, you had the Philippines lockdown, you had the circuit breaker. They came, they got imposed without too much warning, right? So we didn't really have much time to prepare for it. And it really tested our mettle and our ability to scale up our tech and operational resources, because all of a sudden you had people, having no choice but to stay at home, and ordering stuff to be delivered to them, right? So sitting at home buying stuff online, that once was really a convenience, but it then became a necessity. So coming out of circuit breaker now, the MCO, the lockdowns, we do see that the online buying patterns, they haven't really regressed so much. This is probably due to the fact that new customers have already experienced this convenience. They don't want to lose it, right? So really moving to e-commerce with the decline of retail, that's it's not a matter of if, right? It's a matter of when. It's inevitable. And to me, COVID has really just accelerated a lot of things. A lot of companies that were meant to die have died. And yeah, I mean, we're thankful we're in a good place.
Well, that's consistent with pretty much a lot about what we're hearing around COVID accelerating this digital disruption. And on to acceleration, we have the rapid fire questions.
Okay, so rapid fire is, I'll pose the same question to Sean and Aditi, and I basically just need to agree, disagree, yes, no, or a straight answer, yeah? Let's just kick it off, and Aditi, you answer first. Unicorn labels are just marketing and don't really matter until the actual exit. Agree, disagree?
Disagree.
Why? Just one sentence.
I think definitely there's a lot that goes into reaching there, and that's essentially a testament of what you're constituted of.
Sean, label or substance?
Doesn't matter, because it's all about optics, right? To me, focus on the right things, core profitability, sustainability, but take every opportunity you can to grow.
Okay, cool. Next question. Chinese or Indian unicorns provide a roadmap for Southeast Asia to follow? Yes, no? Sean?
I'll say no. Every market has very different dynamics. You can learn from them, but don't necessarily think you can just take it as a well-defined roadmap to follow.
Thank you. Aditi, your take?
Yes, I think from a user perspective, at least from a design perspective, there's a ton of at least inspiration to pull from there.
Okay. And last but not least, which will be the next Southeast Asian unicorn filing for IPO? Aditi, what's your take?
I was gonna say, Sean, take it first, but there's no way I'm not rooting for NinjaVan and Sean. There you go.
Then I can expect what Sean is saying. So, Sean,
and no way I'm not rooting for Aditi's and Grab as well, right? All right.
Excellent.
Go Grab.
All right.
Over to you, Chris. And
okay. The pitch. So all our founders just love to listen in on this section, because what we really hear is we learn from the people with the money and how to get their attention, and the people that have successfully pitched, and to get an up-to-date view on what it takes to successfully get the money. So Aditi, the mission as your shop is to really look at how can a founder right size, how can a founder actually get your attention? What are some of the things that are very important that you're listening to from the founder when you consider their pitch and a potential engagement at Grab?
I think, as moot as it sounds, I think first part is really getting the basics right, which is the hygiene stuff, getting a clear articulation of what problem you're solving for, how big the opportunity is, what business model, how's this going to make money. Put in a nice product demo. You'll be amazed at how many times there is not actually a product demo. Put in a nice product demo, a good handle on financials and economics. I think just that basic right amazes beyond imagination. I think in addition to that, one thing that I really find valuable and thoughtful on a founder's part is putting in why Grab. It's always great to have that perspective and point of view of why this can be an interesting partnership from both sides. I think some thought into that really leaves a great opportunity for discussion from there on.
Yeah, great. And within all that, it doesn't sound like it, but I want to check. Are you trying to look out for anything different in 2020 because of COVID and I guess this digital acceleration? Is what you're looking from a pitch different now than say last year?
I think I can tell what I'm hearing different now versus last year. Uh, One, I think monetization is really front and center now, which is actually great. I think last time you could just talk about a Series A where you're going to pull in hundreds and thousands of users, businesses in terms of traction, and somewhere down the line, you're going to lend money to all of them and make money, right? I think you see much less of that. I think the whole monetization is an important topic, even in the earlier stages, which is the right way to build sustainable businesses. So I think there's much more focus and attention on that. I think another interesting difference that I see in 2020 is we are hearing a lot more of enterprise and B2B SaaS pitches, which is actually great from our standpoint, because it seems to suggest that it is becoming clearer externally that we are not only a B2C platform, but we have a huge ecosystem on the B2B side as well, a whole lot of merchants, SMEs, who we want to outserve as well. And for example, our Vietnam program has about 60% B2B tech, a lot of it focused on SMEs like medium scale POS, chatbot technology for SME businesses like retail, fashion, etc. So I think that's a big change. It's a welcome change, and hope to see many more of those coming.
Great. So we're getting deeper and deeper into the economy. And Sean, as a CTO, firstly, I'd say congratulations with $300 million. I really hope that's buying you a lot of chicken. And as a CTO, you've been fundraising and part of that story from the beginning. Can you share with us as a CTO, what's sort of changed in your time in the experience of fundraising from, say, the beginning to the end? And then second part to that is, what would you recommend for CTOs to never lose touch of as they continue in their journey? Because obviously you've had a great one, and we'd like to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So lots have changed, right? All of our roles, it gets more and more defined. And as the CTO, my job is really to focus on the product, focus on delivering value to the business, focus on keeping it running 24/7 without skipping a heartbeat. Rewind that back to 6 years ago, where all of us had to do everything. We've always had to be super involved in every single pitch, right? I had to be there talking to all of our potential Series A investors. But till today, that's so much more. I mean, we have a great team taking care of that fundraising process, right? But talking about our pitch, how we've been successful with that. It's about what do we tell our investors, right? It's really about convincing them that we're all about technology and operational excellence. That's marrying tech and ops well for success. And I again always repeat sustainable tech-enabled business, right? We have to prove that our tech can scale. But everyone's always talked about scaling. That's just everyone just wants to scale. But let me talk about scaling responsibly, because one way to acquire customers is to drop them huge discounts, huge freebies. But that's not always very sustainable, because when you run dry and you can't give these customers that pricing anymore, and your company goes under, these customers lose the benefits of your services, right? So instead, you've really got to focus on your product, right? Just keep a razor sharp focus on that thing, right? Prove out that your product is worth that value. What advice can I give other CTOs? I don't know really, but don't always be involved in the business side of things. Don't stray too far, because I've also seen CTOs who become overly engrossed in the tech, and they lose sight of the actual vision of the company, right? Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. If we think about, again, you know, the first set of startups, a lot of them were consumer focused. And if it wasn't something mission critical, let's say, you know, discretionary e-commerce spend, right? The tech can break, that's okay. But fundamentally, you know, you've been a B2B business from the beginning. And of course, you know, all tech needs to work. But if your tech doesn't work, someone's actually business is failing. They're not actually able to earn an income, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Lars, that brings us on to the questions.
Yes, and we have some fantastic questions, and some are already like, wow, I'm lucky that I'm not in your shoes, Sean and Aditi, because I wouldn't know how to answer them. So let's start with the first one for Aditi maybe. Bobby is asking, will Ninja Van and Grab start eating into each other's markets, or is the market big enough for both of you?
Hi, Bobby. Thanks for coming, mate. We all know which Bobby this is.
Hey, Bobby. I think, keeping it super short, logistics is a tremendously big, I mean, without quoting the multi-billion numbers for Southeast Asia, an immensely big, really growing and a massive enabler across the markets. The entire e-commerce boom, especially which is coming after the COVID pandemic, is only going to accelerate it, right? It's really the lifeblood of digital economy, I would think, and also the infrastructure of countries. So I personally believe that the opportunity is way too big for anyone to eat into anyone's share. There is opportunity for several. I mean, there are different pools. You look at last mile. Within last mile itself, there's this whole element of express, next day schedule, 3 to 5 day. There's a piece around warehousing. So I mean, even if you pick up one part in the value chain, there are several different value propositions out there, right? And essentially, that's also a reason why we partner, because we very well understand that even within the last mile space, this is not something we can do alone. So for example, when it comes to intracity or when it comes to next day schedule, that's where we look at partners like Ninja Van to support us in that capability. For example, fulfill the needs of social sellers. So in short, it's really big, hairy problem, and it will take many, many people to solve it.
Sean, I'm not throwing the same question at you, more a little bit like moving it around, because we know that there are different ways of doing delivery. Like in your industry, some are trying to use the Grab model for last mile, versus you have your dedicated network that you're building. And Lance Craig is asking the question, traditionally, the logistics space is a very capex intense business, because if you have your own dedicated network and infrastructure, it just costs a lot of money. So what's the key lesson you've learned when scaling your business in this traditionally capex intense business area or industry?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question, because actually very early on in Series A days, actually Kuo Yi, who was on this show, I think two episodes ago, right? He was actually asking us to consider if a SaaS model or a platform model would work out, right? But that's not the route we went, because what we felt was, in order to really get down to the kind of unit economics that we are being able to achieve today in terms of like your cost per parcel, right? You really need to have assets, because it's all about an optimization game, right? And coming back to that, the previous question, which Aditi really answered very well, logistics, there's many different kind of segments, and we're just looking at the optimization of next day, 3 days, right? It's very different from on demand. And for us, in order to do that optimization, we have to be quite capex intensive, right? So what then is the key lesson? It comes back down to what I said just now about revenue and operational sustainability. you have to be very, very, very careful that you are building a business that you're not losing money per delivery, right? So it goes down to visibility. If you are having huge failure rates, how do you actually tweak your operations so that you can optimize that? Because failures are expensive for us, right? Losses of parcels, damages of parcels, claims, that costs a lot of money if you can't get that down to a very good percentage, right? So what we've really learned is be aware of these numbers, right? Control it well, harness data to ensure that you're going in the right direction. So yeah, that's our approach at least.
So what you said is, yes, for your business model, you need to own the infrastructure. Otherwise, you can't really optimize enough, and then you can't really drive down the per unit costs. For your business model, with tech extremely important. Otherwise, you don't have the visibility to quickly adjust where you need to, right?
Yes, yes. But when we talk about infrastructure, we're just looking at those fixed assets like the sort centers, right? But when it comes to like your fleet, your vehicles, that you might not need to own, and it depends on which market you're in and the economics of it.
Yeah, I remember I worked in a previous life for DHL, and we always had the saying, we don't want to be an airline because it's extremely expensive.
And thank you so much, Janice Lim from Google Accelerator, from joining us today. And Janice would like to invite you, Sean, to be a speaker at their next event in relation to machine learning that they're building on, that you guys are building on Google Cloud. So Sean, thanks for coming to our party, and at our party, we support all our friends. And Aditi, I might just get into this because you had something which I thought was brilliant, and I'm not going to let you get away with it. Sean, when you talk about, you know, optimizing and delivery of this platform, this deep tech platform, and making sure everything right. Aditi, you had a very good question for Sean, which I will let you ask and not steal.
Yeah, actually, I think that's something everyone might love to hear about. Going back to the ecosystem approach, Sean, how does NinjaMan look at it? I think your genesis is logistics, but how do you see that branching out into an ecosystem play, if you will?
Yeah. Very, very, very good question. I mean, look at it, right? We started off just doing last mile, and I actually draw a lot of parallels to what you guys started off, right? You started off as a taxi company, and then you created this new thing, ride hailing. So likewise, we look at logistics, we look at last mile kind of like as a means to an end. We want to build up our network, right? We want to get to the stage where we say, hey, we have a Ninja within 5 minutes of wherever you are, right? Whether you're in the jungles, up in the mountains, and with that network, there's so much we can do. Now, what are we doing then today? Besides just doing the last mile logistics, we actually work very, very closely with our customers, our shippers, and generally the idea is we want to help them with their operational processes so they can focus their resources on doing what they should be doing, which is selling, right? So for us consumers, when we're buying something online, actually we don't really see a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And for instance, right, they spend a lot of time on the procurement process, dealing with suppliers, and a lot of these suppliers, they come from like China, Thailand. So it's very difficult because a lot of them might not speak the language. There can be a lot of misunderstandings. There's a huge amount of hassle with payments, you know, the FX, the cross-border import process. Adding on to that, and I say this with the exception of Singapore, in the countries where we operate in Southeast Asia, it's actually the cross-border and importation laws are extremely, extremely opaque, right? We don't know whether we can import something. There's a lot of things you've got to understand about, like HS codes and stuff. And this could all result in shipment delays, and it could be very expensive to clear these shipments out of the customs, right? So apart from last mile, we're starting to move upstream as well. So we've come up with a suite of services, and this is just an example. We have something called Ninja Direct, and what this aims to do is solve all these problems for our shippers. It's an end-to-end service where we help our sellers source the products, right? Pay for it, so we can even give them better FX rates, right? And then finally, the fulfillment and last mile delivery. There's more than that as well. So there are a lot of ancillary products that we're offering around that. For instance, offering them extended credit terms, since we're paying for their suppliers for the goods, right? And it's very, we did our studies, right? It's actually a very huge benefit for a lot of our customers, because we found out that cash flow actually was quite a huge bottleneck for how much sales they could make, because they didn't have enough cash to buy new stock, especially in countries like Indonesia, where everything is all cash on demand, the huge unbanked population, right? So if you look at Ninja Van, the consumer might look at us as a delivery company, just like how the consumers before you guys became a super app, they just looked at you as just a taxi company, right? But you have so many other things up your sleeves.
Okay.
Awesome. Great to see you wearing the product hat, Sean.
We have to do all this, man.
A question for both of you that comes from the audience. I want to combine them. One question is, how important is it to have the right mentor when you scale? And the other one, could you sum up your company culture in a sentence? Company culture in a sentence, and how important are mentors to scale? Aditi, you were asking the question, now you have to answer too.
Sure. I think you can read up about it, but Grab essentially operates by 4 H's, what we call 4 H's: hunger, humility, honor, and oh my God, this had to happen. What is the fourth H? Oh, hunger, humility, honor, and
excellence would fit in.
Excellent. But let me bring up the summary of it. I think the big part which I feel motivates a lot of people, talented people, to say is what we look at as servant leadership. And it is tremendously role modeled internally by the leaders at Grab. And I think that's something that inspires people to keep sticking around through the tough periods, especially as some of the early periods that Sean mentioned, right? I think in the second question, mentor, I think not one mentor, but many, because the problems in the early stage of businesses just come in different shapes and forms. And that's what we try to do through our programs as well.
Okay. Sean, then for you, the Ninja Van culture in one sentence, and the importance of mentors, maybe in 2 sentences.
Yeah. So one sentence, or maybe I'll just copy what Aditi did. So we have 3 values. It's delivering on promises, right? Learn and develop, lean towards action, right? But if you try to ask me to sum it up, and what's most important to me, we are very innovation driven. We like people to speak up, right? Be nosy, tell us if we're doing something wrong and there's a better way to do it. Talk about it, right? And try to drive it in the organization. Mentors, for me and my co-founders, we had very little experience when we came into this. And mentorships were, they were super helpful, especially from our investors, Quoi, our Series B, Series C investors. And there's so much to learn, especially when you don't have too much experience. Right?
Oh, sounds like we need to have Quoi back. He's the man.
Yeah.
And, it's just wonderful to have you both. Aditi, I really love that in relation to China and India, Southeast Asia is incredibly diverse and actually, in many ways, much more of a complex market. Sean, it's so true. People only see the success stories. They don't know the hardship. And Janice, Sean's my kind of guy. Janice, just make sure you have plenty of KFC for when you invite him to Google, okay? So I'd like to wrap up. At Southeast Asia Connect, we're just simply delighted to be here for our technology entrepreneurs and investors. And our next episode will be on the next billion users are actually merchants with Fave. Today was a wonderful discussion. If we think about the next breed of unicorns, it seems to be more B2B focused, more entrenched in the economy. The technology is as important as ever. And what's emerging is more sustainable business models. The wonderful story here is rather than just pure binary competition, there also seems to be an element of a lot of collaboration and ways of actually coexisting in a market that seems to be growing. And if we think about what's really important comparing to the China and India story that we can learn from, is really this challenge of being regional with a unified culture and looking at being hyper-local, which all brings us back to that wonderful human story all over again. So you can also find us at Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and YouTube. Thank you so much for listening in. We're here to support our entrepreneurs as they harness technology to solve today's problems and create a better tomorrow for us all. I'm Chris Tran, signing off. Lars?
Thank you, everybody. And as Sean said, disrupt or be disrupted. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Aditi.
Thank you, everybody.
So much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.